Hello everyone. Intellipaat welcomes you for this webinar, which is of a Python for web development. So today's workshop will be taken care by Mr. Abhishek Chatterjee, who is a senior software developer and a data scientist. So I welcome Abhishek sir to this session. And sir, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the introduction. So, hello everyone, whoever is present. So, actually, as told, like I have experience in IT industry for more than 8 years now, and I have worked on multiple roles, including senior developer, data engineer, data scientist, and all those kind of roles I have played. And Python is something which I am working from the start of my career. So I will take you through the short journey of Python and web development using Python, why we choose Python, basics of web developments maybe, and showing you a short project. So without any other further delay, I will be starting with that. So uh, to start with, basically we will like to understand why we are using Python and why we are focusing on Python and what is the need that we have such kind of a craze for Python in nowadays. So basically, Python is a programming language, as we have multiple other programming languages, right? Like Java, C Sharp, you have C, C++, and all those kind of languages are already there. Python is, I would say, more popular than other languages nowadays because of a few reasons. First of all, it has a really good it is, first of all, it is dynamically typed, so it can be it is easy to learn. It can be learned within a few days to just to start off with it, not to get the mastery of it, yes, but yeah, it is much more easier to learn than the others. If you learn Python, if you start seeing Python code, which I will be showing you a couple of small code examples or a few here and there codes and stuff, you will see like Python will be much more verbose and much more declarative kind of a style, having declarative kind of a style compared to other programming languages. That's one of the reasons. Now, the next reason that we can talk about is the range of Python. So in Python, we can do web development. We can develop REST APIs or microservices. We can also do data engineering or any data science related work, data engineering analyst and data scientist, all three. We can do things using Python, right? That is one of the reason that it is so popular these days. Now, we generally know that yes, if we know Python, that means we are it has to be applied in data science, but that is not the case. We have different kind of web applications also that can be built on top of Python, right? And because Python is easy to learn, Python is easy to set up, Python can be used in web development as well. Now, why web frameworks, right? So as when we have web frameworks, what happens is when we try to create any website, what happens is websites have many avenues to look into, right? So when I say many avenues, that means we have we have to create a layer that opens up the application to the web, right? Which opens up a port in your system. Maybe one when you are developing in local, it will need to open up a port in your system so that it can be accessible. That thing. There is something called security, right? So authentication, authorization, those kind of mechanisms, those things are there. Now, when we go for those things, what happens is there are two options. Either you can implement all those things on your own. That is one option that you might want to do. But the problem is in those cases, the problem happens is you won't be able to. You won't be able to make it faster. Correct? It will be much slower compared to your other systems, right? Because what happens is if you try and go and try to make things happen on your own, if you try to develop all those different features and different attributes manually, it will take a lot of time to implement those. So what happens? It's best that we simply go ahead and try to use a web framework for those. Right now, web frameworks will provide you all those things in a bootstrap manner. Okay, so everything will be bootstrapped in that. And what you can do, you can simply go ahead and try picking up what is there and not. Right? What are the settings? What are the authentication authorization mechanisms are there? What are the different kind of bootstrapped things that it provides? Like you will see, it has a like if I talk about Django now, Django will provide you a user management system by default. Okay, you can tweak it and you can use it for your further use cases and stuff like that. So in those cases, what happens is your life gets much easier, and when you try to develop big websites and stuff, you will be able to develop it much faster compared to doing everything on your own, right? That's something that you would do. Now in Python, what happens is Python, as I already told, like it is more popular for data science, data engineering, those things. I am not touching that part, but using Python, we can do certain things for web development as well. For web development, we have, I mean, bunch of frameworks available, right? So one of them is Flask, another one of them is Django. There is something called Tornado. There is something, these kind of, there are multiple frameworks that are available. Now in these frameworks, the oldest one is Django. So Django is running for lot of time now. Okay, it is it is it is it is running for whole lot of time right now. Okay, so based on that, what happens is it has a very mature support, so that it can so that the so that we can use it for different kind of purposes. For web development also, it has a really good support. Okay, the website might not look good, might not be a full-fledged website, but yeah, you will get the essence, like how to create a website. So just hold on to it, just in. So that's how things are. So yeah, so basically what happens is yeah, so based on Django web framework, what happens is we in Django we have a very mature support, right? So that's why people generally prefer Django, and there are a lot of websites also. Those are developed using Django, so good amount of there is a good amount of uh, demand for guys who know Python with Django. Correct. Now Python can have other avenues also. I am not touching those. So you can use desktop application development, web development. I already talked about. Data science, data engineering. You can do. You can use it in cybersecurity. There is a vast library available for that. You can develop REST APIs. That is also another feature which I will be talking about from Django. So these are all the different kind of things that uh, you might see in a Django web application or in overall in Python basically. Okay, setting up Python is as easy as it gets. Okay, so simple thing is, based on which machine you are using, you have to go and download the required Python version that you want to install. So what you will basically do is you will go here. If you go here, you will see there are a lot of options of different operating systems and different versions of Python that you want to install. Now, if you don't have any requirement of, if you don't have any kind of requirement for a specific version of the language to be downloaded, let's say where you are, let's say if you are in a job and your company is using 3.7. Okay, so 2.7 and all those kind of 2.x, as we call it, are the older Python versions. Mostly the support is decommissioned for those, so we don't use 2.x's anymore. It is already over. Okay, so if you see in 2020 1st of January, the end of life was announced. So we don't really use it. And all this older Python versions, if you see, the end of life is nearing within 2 to 3 years. Okay. So we should be choosing anything from these because they are having some time left. Now, in some places you will see older Python versions are still being used. Why? Because 2.7 stayed in the market for a quite long time. Okay. It is not like it was there for almost 10 to 15 years in the market. Okay. So that's why most of the applications that you see will be running in Python are using 2.x versions. But yeah, somewhere it is being upgraded, somewhere it is already the upgradation part is already completed, and there is a slight difference between 2.3 and 2.x and 3.x version. Yeah, so that's how about choosing Python version. If you choose any one of them, you can go ahead and use it. Okay, I use kind of a VM to use, so that's why I am using Python on Linux. Okay, so here if you using Linux, then yes, you have something called PyEnv to install your Python, and then you can start using it. So this is based on in your operating system and choices. Now I am not going into how to set up Python, right? But just to show you what Python is, right? Like how why I am saying it is easy to learn, is it easy to remember and stuff. So first thing is in Python, what happens is Python is a interpreted language, right? So Python basically is an interpreter. So what is interpreter? And there are so basically there are two kind of languages you might have. One is compiler, and another one is interpreter, right? So compiler languages, how they work is if you write 10 lines of code, they will be executed. I mean, they will be compiled to the machine code version of it, and then they will be executed. And if you are using an interpreter language, as soon as you write a line, you will be able to execute that, right? So that's how interpreter and compiler differs. Okay. Now here I am using something which is a this thing is called a REPL basically. Okay. So here you can write single line Python code, or maybe a bit more also. We will see, and you can start executing these. Okay. So let's say I am doing 2 plus 2. Okay, you will see 4 as an output, correct? Now you can maybe you can write if else statement also. Okay, so if k is less than 9, then you need to do print hello world, else print hello world 2. Let's keep it to that. Okay, so this will also work, right? So this is how easy it is to start with Python. So now if you see, it is hello world 2. Why so? Because we have declared a variable called k. Now k is value is 10, so 10 is not less than 9, so it is printing hello world 2. It is coming to the else part and it is printing hello world 2. Correct? That's what it is happening. Now here are a few things to notice, like when I mentioned k equal to 10, right? I haven't really mentioned it in data type. Now each each value that we declare in any programming language is assigned with some kind of a data type. So 10 is supposedly called an integer data type. But here, if you notice, I haven't mentioned something like integer k or int k. Correct? So because now what happens is we don't have to mention it at first, and it can be changed also, right? So that is why we call Python to be a dynamically typed language. So type declarations and all those kind of the difficulties that you might have, that are not there when you use in Python. Okay, when you use Python, and if you see that the writing the code is fairly easy and it is much clearer, right? Now let's say if I want to print something 10 times, I want to go for a loop, correct? So what I will do is for in range 0 comma 10 with a step of 1, I might want to print hello, and I would want to print what is the value of I that we are doing. Okay? So I will do hello, then I will divide. Okay? So if I do it, you will see it will run from 0 to 9, and it will print hello 0, hello 1. Here also, if you see, the syntaxes are much more composed, much more concrete, and it takes less time, plus it is easy to run as well. Right? Now, Python is not only about doing this kind of small stuff. Okay, we can have some big projects using Python as well. Okay, now when I say a big project, I will show you some example of it. If you see here, this is some website that I created. Okay, for some of other section, some of other batch, it was created during a long time. It was not created in 1 hour, obviously. But yeah, there are different kind of things you will see. So you will see there. So this is basically a Django project. I will be explaining the anatomy of a Django project shortly, but let's just look at it, look at how things work, right? For some reason I am not able to run it, so I won't be able to show you. Some configuration changes or something happened, some files are missing or something. I won't be able to show it to you right now, but yeah, so I will show you a Django project after creating that. That much I will do. But what I want you to see is, like, here if you see, there are different kind of modules that I have created inside Python, right? One module is called contact, one module is called APIs, right? There is one module called contact, there is one called courses, there is one of the main module that we have. Here we have different Python files, right? So these kind of files we can also create in Python, right? So Python can range from a 5 line code to this kind of a big application process. So if I go to the APIs, you will see more code aspects of things, right? So yeah, APIs and posted APIs. Here you will see most of the code that I have created, right? So here we are fetching some values, right? Here I am listing some values. Okay. So what I am doing is, here what I did, I used so there is some object called user that I have created, or courses that I have created, sorry. So from courses, I took out all the details of the course that we have. Okay. And in the list user view, what I am doing, I am showing the details of the courses. So now here I am filtering those. Okay, all this kind of things you can do using Python. So Python can be a small 2-minute application that you create, just a inline application that you create. Yes, you can do that, or you can create this kind of a big applications also. Now, if I would have been able to run it, I would have shown you, but some static files are not coming in, so I am not able to show it to you right now what's happening. But yes, so all in all, you can do all this kind of big web applications you can develop using Python as well. Okay, so that's why we generally prefer Python. And apart from that, if you want to see, Python can be used for data science, machine learning, those kind of applications as well. There we will see more of conventional use of Python, which Python is more popular for, because see, Python is interpreted language firstly, and secondly, you don't need much time to learn, right? So, and it is faster also. So once when you work with data, you need some kind of a prompt which will be giving you an interactive interface with the data. Correct. Otherwise, you will get lost. Like let's say if you are writing a Java program and your entire process takes around 5 to 6 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes to run the application. You will be sitting ideally for that 5 to 6 minutes. And instead, it is better you write one line code which takes 1 minute. You see what is the output. You see how the data looks like. Go ahead, get to the second part, do the application, see how it is looking like, and slowly start building it up. Once you are done with your experimentation, maybe you can make it a script and then you can deploy it so that it can execute, and it can it can be deployed in a production environment in a much more concise manner. But when you are doing it in the development phase, you will definitely need to check the data more often than the other. So Python, this kind of interactive shells will help you to do that, right? We use something called Jupyter Notebook there, but yeah, anything, any other IDEs also are fine. You can use it to do that kind of a Python job. Now, having said that, that's what I think you should be aware of Python for the moment. I will be showing you a few small, I will create a small Django project. It's nothing, just fetching some values from DB and show it to you, and how Django project anatomy looks like, and all these things I will show you shortly. Okay. So till here, guys, if anyone has any questions, please type it out. I will be taking those up after I finish the small demo that we are talking about. Right? That I will show. I will take those questions up after that. Okay. If you have anything, just let me know in the chat box. Now, uh, now to start with Django, like how would you install Django? That might be the first question that you get. So in order to do that, you will do a simple pip install Django. That's all you would do. Now you will see a prompt like it is already installed, right? So you will see this is already installed in my system. Let the prompt come in. So you will see this Django framework is already installed in my system. So you can simply get started with that, right? Now coming to the part when we have, we will now get started with creating Django applications, right? So what we can do Django admin, we can do start project, and we will name it, let's say, sample website. Okay, we will name it like that. Now this is how you create a Django website or Django project. Okay, this is how you create it. It will take some time. Meanwhile, I will take the questions that I might have had. Okay, so the ID that I use is Visual Studio Code, and the screen that you are seeing right now, okay, that is called WSL. Okay, so this is a Linux running on Windows, so it is kind of a VM, right? Yes, it is Linux running on Windows. It is a kind of a VM because I kind of uh, I kind of use more in the data science aspect of things. So it is helpful for me to use Linux prompt. So that's why you are seeing this. Yeah, that's how. Python code will need indentation. You will have to have it as space separated. The indentation here is your space separation. Okay, so spaces are really very useful when you write Python code. Like let's say if I type Python and if I have to write the if else again. Now here if I write print hello, it will throw an error. Okay, it will throw an error, indentation error. It will throw. How to solve? You need to give a tab if you need to give a tab before you type the next line. So this white space separates between the two blocks. Okay, white space separates between the two blocks. That is really important. So indentation is really important in Python. Your code won't run if you don't indent your code properly. It won't run. Okay. Anu, as I told, any Python version you can use. Python version doesn't have anything to do with data science or machine learning or something, right? You can do anyone, any Python version if you want, you can use it. That's not a problem. Vijay, ML engineers, I mean, there are different libraries that ML engineers work with. So it is a bit difficult for me to tell in this class what are the exact softwares you will need. But if you install Python, you will be slowly getting different libraries that you'll use, like let's say Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn. These are more popular ones, right? Okay, so let's move on to code editor and let's try to refresh it and see what happened. Okay, let's see what happened when we did a Django admin start project. Correct. So let me refresh this. See, this is the sample website, right? This is the sample website that got created. Okay. Now here you will see multiple things that happened inside this directory. So one file is called manage.py. Now this manage.py is for interacting with Python command line. How you, I mean, sorry, Django command line interfaces. How you will see soon. Okay. We will make some migrations and we will see how things work. Now there is something called WSGI. Now WSGI is basically a gateway interface file. Okay. So once you go ahead and try to deploy this in production, you will need to set up some dedicated WSGI servers. You cannot use the default dev server that Django uses. Now when I say dev server, default dev server, what does it mean is when you develop an Django application, you are not required to deploy this Django application uh, in a in a in a production. You don't have to productionize this Django application right away. Okay. Instead, what you might want to do is you might want to run it on your local machine using your local and that will use your laptop as your host. Okay. And it will run it on your laptop only. But when you are done with developing the software, you might want to go ahead and deploy this in a more configured software where you will have security installed. The machine will be open to the internet, right? You will have firewalls installed in that. You will have multiple other security patches installed in that. You might have some kind of load balancer attached to it, and all those kind of things you might have. So in those kind of cases, after the development is done, you come to this risky file and you try to make it. You try to deploy that Django application in some kind of a web server. When I say some kind of a web server, what does it mean, right? So you can have choose either one of the two options. Either you can go ahead and use cloud, any cloud, AWS, GCP, or Azure, these kind of cloud environments to deploy your system. So there you will create a virtual machine which will be either running Python, which will be either running Linux, Mac. Mac OSs are not supported in cloud virtual machines yet, and they will be heavily costly. And or also what you can do is you can use a Linux machine or a Windows machine to deploy things. Okay, there you will install some dedicated web server, like let's say Tomcat. That is some good of web server that we have. Something for Windows is called IIS. Okay, these are the things you can use to deploy this Django application in production. Right. In those kind of cases, we can definitely go ahead and modify this with Git.py. Otherwise, this is not much required. The next one is urls.py. So you must have noticed, any one of you, whoever surfs the web, you will see every website or every app, when you are using it, it will come with a URL, right? URL is Unified Resource Locator. So when you create a URL, what happens in the backend is the URL is mapped to a particular port bit. Okay, so it will map to some particular code. That code will fetch some details or do some action in the backend to show you the page that you are seeing. So basically, you will first send a request via the URL to the code that you are running, okay, or to your web server, in other words, right? And after you are done with that, what you will what the web server or web application that is running will do is it will take your URL and it will redirect you to the proper code that was written in the backend. Why I am saying all this, you will see shortly, like how those things work. Okay. Next is settings.py. As the name suggests, you can configure databases, you can configure your static file names, you can configure your which database you are connecting to, right? Those all those different kind of things you can do. Templates. So templates are basically some kind of static files. I will tell you about that as well. Okay, so all these things you can do here. And ASGI is another asynchronous web server. So it depends on which kind of application you are developing. Is it should it be synchronous or should it be asynchronous? You can choose either WSGIs or ASGIs. Okay, I'm not going into details of that because it will be over. I mean, it will be out of scope for this. Okay, so that's how we basically have this Django project created. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's try to run it. Simply, let's try to run it. So in order to run any Django project, we will do Python manage.py run server. If I do that, it will run your Django project. Okay, start project. Then you will give them project name. Okay, so let's say test. So this is how you create a Django project. This is not to deploy. Okay, this is how you create it. Okay, Django admin start project test. That will give you the basic template that you are seeing, basic bootstrap template that you are seeing. Okay, that's how it goes in. Now, guys, here if you see the web application which I tried to start has started now. Yeah, there are different kind of messages you are getting, unapplied migration, this and that and that and this. For the moment, just ignore those things. Okay. Okay, I haven't talked about one file in the Django web application, that is this db.sqlite3. Okay, this is a SQLite is a type of SQL database that is basically a file based database. So whatever you create, it will be created on one table. So there are different SQL databases like MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server, all these different kind of things, right? So those things, I mean, those things also you can use with Django, but by default, Django will become pre-shipped with the SQLite 3. Okay, so this SQLite 3 is basically a file-based database. Okay, in which you can go ahead and you can create. It can be used as practical SQL database only. It is just the only difference is it is not a production version of. So when you are developing Django web application, you can use this SQLite 3DB as well. I will be using that for the moment, and I will show you how to change it to other databases. Yes, but I will for the moment I will use this SQLite 3 database only. Okay, so let's see how things work. Now, if you see guys here, when I ran the project using Python manage.py run server, this is how you run a Django project, right? Here it is showing Django version 4.0.5 is using sample settings, this and that, and there is a development server that was started. So this is what I was talking about. If you don't have anything to any if you don't deploy it, it will be running always on a it will always be running on your local machine. It will use your local machine as your start point, right? And you will see a tutorial link to Django as well. So in case you are not able to follow, so if you are not able to follow the steps to create or anything, you can go ahead and see here how to create a Django project and all. All these things I am talking about will also be here. Okay, so there are I will be showing a smaller version of it, not this one. Okay, but yes, if you have difficulty in understanding, you can refer to this documentation as well. You will see all these things coming up here. Okay, there is Django community, Django documentations and everything you will be getting. So once you run your web application, once you click it, if it is successful, right, you will see this kind of a you will see this kind of a welcome page. Now this is good, but this is even better. Okay, now if I type this slash admin, correct, this slash admin, you will see this kind of a admin prompt. Now you might ask me how it is coming. Correct, this is where Django steps in. This is where the facilities of Django steps in. So If I go to this urls.py, I told you guys like it will have different URLs mentioned in here. So here, if you see, we have an admin slash function. Okay. So Django already has a module which is called admin, correct? Which is called admin. So that admin is already configured. It has different applications that corresponding to, I mean, it has different applications uh, that an admin might do, like creating users, changing user, updating users, and all those kind of. But now, if I try to log in, if I try to log in here, it is not gonna work. Yeah. So if I do that, you will see this is a operation error at login slash. Okay. If you see the error is no such table called auth user, right? Because the database that Django is using, which is the SQLite 3DB that I showed you, does not have this table. Okay. So what I will do, I will first need to make that make those files happen. Now again here you will see another advantage why we be using Django and we won't be going for using all the different kind of I mean why we won't be setting things up manually. Okay. So as I told you, we have SQLite 3DB which is configured with it. I will show you how to check that. Now here if you see we are saying databases, that is the settings that is there. Here we are saying the engine name is Django DB backends.sqlite 3. So this is the engine that will be using for this web application to talk to the database. What is the database? This is the database. Now in case if you have other customized and sophisticated database like your MySQL, right? You will see there is a different kind of a thing that you have. So here, if you see, the engine name is calling MySQL. Okay. The name of the database that we are using is Intellipaat DB. We have a user, we have a password, we have a host name, we have a port name also. So these are the default things that you will be using to configure it to any other database. So you can configure Django with any other SQL database of your choice. Okay, but since we don't have much of a time and we need to create things faster so that I can show you different use cases of Django, I will make it using SQLite 3 only. But SQLite also will serve our purpose, right? Now, how does Django make sure that all the tables are there and why I am saying that Django will create the tables on behalf of us, right? So there are some other commands that you will need to know by now. One is Python manage.py, make migrations. Okay. If I run that command, let it run. It will take some time, but yeah. Okay. So it is showing no changes detected. Now I will go back to here and I will see there is uh, so basically what it is saying is there are no migrations that are there to be performed, right? So now I know like I can do Python manage.py migrate. Okay. If I do that, since I am doing it for the first time, it will take some time to run. Okay. See, it is creating whole bunch of tables right now. Okay. Auth users, auth session, these and that and this. Don't stress about it. If you come here, you will see all these different migrations that happen, all these different tables that got created. Okay, every table has some kind of a structure. Okay. Now, if you remember the admin interface that I showed you, there it was asking us to log in. Okay, there it was asking us to log into that page. We were not able to do that. So what we are gonna do, we are gonna create a super user. That is the first step that you might do. Okay, that is the first step you might do. So we will create a super user who can log into the portal and he will have all different kind of accesses. How to check those things we will see. Okay, so we will say Python manage.py create super user. That's all. It will take some time, yes, but yeah, let it go. Now, if you see, we got a prompt like to enter the username. Okay, and it is saying leave blank to use the username that I have in my system, which is a B. Yeah. But now what I will do is I will give some custom name as admin. Okay. I will give some dummy email address. I will give some password. I will give some password again. Yeah, fine. I don't want to make it. If you see here, Once I am trying to create the password, it is also doing the password validation for us, right? The minimum password length is set to 8 here. Okay. So those are different kind of by default, Django will provide you with all those kind of different settings, okay, which you can use. Now, if you had to make these things happen using your own thing, using your custom code, you definitely can do it, but you can think of how much time it would have been taken, right? You would have to create a table, you would have to write an entire code to check the tables, you would have to write a code to encrypt and decrypt your password when you are accessing it, write it to the DB, fetch from the database, and all those kind of things would have happened, right? Now, what I will do is I will try to refresh it. Okay, refresh the table. If you see here, now I have a one user created. The ID is one, password is this uh, encrypted value. Okay, this is SHA-256 encrypted, so it is secure as well when you store it. By default, we store it like this. Okay, it is showing me a super user. The username is admin. Email is admin@test.com. Right, and what else we have? We have the date join. That is, I joined just now, so you will see that there will be some column called last login. Okay, that will also be there. Yeah, here you go, last login. So once I log in, you will see this column also gets populated. Okay, let's go ahead and check that how that works. Okay, so I will run it once more. It is running now. I will do /admin yet again. Now I will get this prompt. Okay, I will do a login. Now if you see, we got a somewhat kind of some kind of a portal we got, right? Now there are two things that you are seeing, users and groups. Okay, so if I go to users, you will see one user that was created, which is admin. If I click here, you will be able to see there are different kind of details we can fill up. So I will quickly fill up the first name and last name here. Why I am doing, I will show. Now, if you want to have any custom groups and everything, right? If you want to provide any kind of custom access to the user, you will see there is a whole lot of things you can do. Can add login tree, can add group, can change user, can add permission, or can he add a user, can he view a user, can he delete a user. All this kind of different security settings are always coming up. Okay, so if you create something as a super user, you will definitely have access to everything. Okay, and if you don't have it, right, if you don't have it, it won't be created. You I mean, if it is not a super user, you will have a set of accesses, not everything. Okay, so I will show you that also when I create a user, right? Now guys, let's go ahead and try to create a user first. Okay, if I create the add user, now I can add any user. Okay, I can add any user. Okay, so maybe I will pick up some names from the participant window or something. Okay, I see this is the name coming first, and I will give you some password. Now, guys, if you see, it has a wide list of password verification. Password can be numeric, it can be too similar to your other personal information. Your password should be at least 8 character long. It can't be a commonly used password, and all this default verifications are coming. So I will use add this user first, and I will probably use, okay, this didn't match. I will probably use one more user just in interest of time. I will keep it short. Yeah, it is added. So one user I have added, and I will probably pick another user and we will go ahead from there. Okay. Okay. Let's say we have some user called this and I saving it. So I have added now two users. Okay, if I go again back to the user, yeah. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Let's see what these guys have in common. Okay. So let's fill these things in. Yeah. And I will be making her a staff. Okay. So they will be logged into the admin site because I am not showing you how to create a custom login page right now. I will be using this admin page to do a login. That's why I am making her a staff so that I can still use this admin page to log her in and show you how different permissions can make different things. Like I will say auth group, she can only view the group. Okay. And she can only view the users. Okay. And what else she can do? She can do everything related to log. She can do that. I will give her all these permissions and I will hit a save. Okay. Once I save it, what I will do, I will log out from here using my credential that I used. Okay. Instead, I would be using that lady's credential that I created. Okay. And I logging in. Now, if you see, there is a slight change in this portal. Correct. Earlier, I was seeing edit, create, and those kind of options at the side of this groups and users. Now, if you see, I am seeing only view option. I cannot edit. If I do a view user, she will be able to see only view this user. She won't be able to, she won't be able to edit anything. Correct? Now I will be logging out from this and I will try to log in with this guy. Okay, this Akshat guy, and see if he can log in. Okay, because this is a staff page, right? This is an admin portal that we are creating. Correct. So not everyone should be able to log into this. Correct. It should be a stipulated kind of guys. Like let's say if you think about Intellipaat will have his will have their own maintenance kind of a thing going on in the backend, correct? So they should not be allowing me or you to log into that portal, but I should be allowed access to the training portal. You guys should be trainers portal or the instructor portal that they have. You guys should be having access to the students portal that they have. So that's how there should be a clear-cut separation of concern things happening. Correct? That's what is also pre-configured in Django. If I try to log in with Akshat, who was not marked as a staff, you will see, please enter the correct username and password for a staff account, because they definitely need a staff account to go through via this login page, right? Since he is not a staff, he cannot log in. Now, what I will do, I will still use my admin access to go in. I will go view the users list. Pardon me, guys. I will quickly fill up this thing. Now, if I save it, I will just do a save. So this is how convenient and easy it is to go ahead. Okay, for admin, I will give my full names and stuff. Okay. So now this is how easy it is to get a user portal up and running in Django. So you didn't have to do anything on this, right? There are different options to create user login page and different things which we generally teach in the courses that we have, right? In detail. So there you will see how to create a customized login page for individual users, how to give different access level to them. Based on the access level, how do we change it, right? Those things you will see. I can show you the code bit, but that won't make much sense. So, but still I will show you how to make things happen. If you see here, if a user is authenticated, what should I show? Similarly, we can check the roles or permission assigned to the user so that we can know what he or she is supposed to do. Based on that, we can take a call what to show and what not to show. Okay, these are the things that we also do. Now, this is how basically you can create a quick start Django project. Now, there are different things that I will be introducing you to it right now. Now, once you create a Django project, there is something called different applications that you can create. Okay, so for that, we will do Django for admin start app. I will give the app name to be users. Okay, users. Now, once I create a users app, you will see one more directory is getting created here. Okay, what I will do, I will simply go ahead, fetch all the user details, fetch all the user details from your from the database, like this table, whatever user I have. Now here, if I go now, you will see 3 users. I will fetch this user details from this DB and will quickly display that in a web page. Okay, for that I need to create a sample template folder. Okay, I will create a template folder. Now in the template, I will create a HTML file. Okay, and then we will mark it together. Okay, so HTML I will write is, let's say, users.html. I will come here. I won't be doing anything fancy, guys. I will just make it quick, okay, so that I can still show you how powerful Django is and still not miss much of it. Okay, but it won't be much sophisticated. Don't expect it to be having very good looks and stuff. Okay, welcome to user page. Let me keep it to that. I will say body. I will come here. I will say div margin equals 10 px or 100 px maybe. Okay. I will come down here. I will create a table. Okay. I will create a t head. I will create different th. Th is for headers, right? So I will, let's say I will show first name. I will show you last name, and let's keep it to email. Let's keep it to these three. Okay. And there will be a t body coming up next. This will have a bit of a chunking code, okay, which will be accessing it from the we will be accessing some Django objects that is created from the backend to here. Okay, that's what we will do next. We will fetch details from database. We will send it to this web page, and we will see how those two things can interact. Okay, how those two things are interacting with each other. Okay, those things we will see next. Okay, now just give me 1 second. So here, what I will do is I will come and use some templating. Okay, so templating means these kind of things. Okay, so here in this you can also write this kind of for loops in Django. Yeah, what are those for loops? Are basically your for loop. So why is this? Because now if you understand, I will be fetching some values from the database, which will be in the Django world, right? It won't be in the JavaScript, right? So I will need to still pass that value to the front end, which is the HTML. That also is provided by default using Django, and these are called templatings. Okay, so we will soon fill this up. Okay, I am writing this, but we will soon fill this thing entire thing. Now here, if you see, I have already created a users app, right? If I go here, if I refresh this, you will see a users app that got created. Okay, here what we need to do is we need to quickly create a URL file first. Okay, url.py. Now from this URL, I am going to copy these lines. Okay, I will come here, I will paste here. So what happens is in Django project, basically you will have a get users, you will have a views. Okay, you will have some views in which it will be import star. Let's keep it like that, or import get users. This is going to be my view name. Okay, or from dot import views. I will do this. Now here, once I come, what I will do, I will say path, and I will mention views dot get user details. Okay, this one I will keep. Now, how I will come to that, I will show you. So for each URL that you are mentioning here, you need to have a view created for that. Now, those views are basically to respond your to respond to your applications, like to respond to the URLs that you are creating. So here I will say the name is users, and it should include the URLs that are coming from the users.urls file. Okay, I will keep it to now. Now, once I do this, I will go to the user views file here, and I will kind of write def. I will copy the name from URLs. This one. Okay, I will say a request. So basically, you will send a request from your form, right? From the front end, you will send a request to it. Now here I will go and I will create, I will import that user object, right? So those things are also configured in Django. Okay, so you can go ahead and simply import those and use those. Okay, how to create custom models? Yes, you can create custom models, custom database tables, and all of it, but that will take more time to create. So that's why I am sticking with your default objects that Django provides. Okay, now all, if I do this, and then I need to pass it. I need to pass it. So I will be creating a context object where I will name it users. I will keep it users here. I will come here. I will now create a template. Now the template object that I created there, right? So I will need to import the loader dot get template. The name will be what I did. The name of the template that I give is what user details.html, right? No, not that. Sorry. This is this template. So users.html. So I will mention here users.html. Okay, and then I will return a HTTP response. Okay, and that will have here, we will render the template now. We will pass the context object and the request object to it. That's all we would need it to do. Okay, that's all we would need this view to be doing. Okay, now uh, once I am done with this setup, what I am gonna do is I am gonna quickly run the application once more and see if we hit this user slash this URL, if that works or not. Okay, that's what something we will try next. Okay, so what we did, we created a URL subject first. Here I mentioned get users. The view corresponding to that is user get user details. Why I came to the views file, I created a method named get user details. There are different kind of views that you can use. It is not the only kind. You can use class views, you can use forms, you can use models, all those different kind of objects you can use like models. Models are basically for your database object, right? Admin is for administering different kind of admin activities, like let's say permission, how to create sessions and all. Those things will be here. You can do some tests also, right? Unit test cases in the tests file as well. So all these different kind of things you can do using Django. But for now, let's understand in the root URL file, I included a path called user slash. So user slash will be pointing to our users app. And in the users app, we have a URL called get user details. Now, one more thing I need to change. That is in the settings.py, I have to mention the template directory. Yeah, that I will do, and then we will be good to run it. And we are coming to the close of the session, so I will maybe stop. Okay, so I will be handing it over to Intellipaat support.
Thank you, sir, for providing such information and wonderful session for us. And yes, okay, guys, thank you and have a nice day.